What is poverty? People whose resources are nowhere near enough to meet their minimum requirements live in poverty. Poverty is the state of being poor. If you do not have enough to clothe yourself properly or eat, you live in poverty. Other examples of living in relative poverty are not being able to heat your home in winter or not having access to medical care when you need it. People who live in poverty do not have enough money to buy the essentials for their children and other members of the family. It is very difficult to measure poverty without being subjective. What you may see as a family living in poverty might not be for somebody else. It is often a question of comparisons. When economists measure poverty, they typically base it on an individual, family, or household income. A person is classed as poor if they earn less than the minimum amount required to meet basic needs. We refer to this minimum as the poverty line. If you are below the poverty line, you are poor. If you are above it, you aren't poor. If a family spends nearly all their money on food, they are most likely living in poverty. Poor people typically have inadequate shelter, often suffer from hunger, and must make do with unclean water. When they are sick, many have no access to qualified health professionals. A high proportion of people who live in poverty cannot read and fear for tomorrow. The definition of poverty varies from country to country, specifically whether the person is in an advanced or developing economy. In the United States, for example, any family receiving less than $16 per day per household member lives below the poverty line. In developing nations, the figure is $1.25 per day, which is much lower. In vast areas of sub-Saharan Africa, almost 2/3 of people live in extreme poverty. The majority of North Koreans live in extreme poverty, which often includes extended periods of starvation. In Latin America, extreme poverty exists, but represents a much smaller proportion of the total population than in Africa. Thank you for watching this brief video on poverty.